Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to today's video. Today, this special video is entirely dedicated to those who are studying. Now, one of the most frequent questions that I get asked in the comment section is, Bhante, I'm studying and my mind is distracting all the time, and how to focus on studying? Well, today, let's discuss about this distracting mind. Okay, and also I'm going to share with you a few tips where you can practice while you're studying to help to focus your mind on studying. So, without any further ado, let's get into these tips. Now, while you're studying, have you ever found yourself daydreaming? Right? Sometimes we sit down to study and we just turn our book on and we start to study, and after a few minutes, what happens to us? We just get distracted, right? We just start daydreaming. Trust me, when I was studying, when I was at home, before I became a monk, when I was studying, I used to daydream a lot. Okay, I used to get distracted a lot. So, it is very difficult. I know it is very difficult and it's very hard to focus our mind to studies because we live in a world where there are many distractions. So, what we can do about this distracting mind, and how can we focus on our mind on our studies? Well, there are certain things that you can do, and one of them is, the first thing that I want to share with you today is that I would like you to write down what you become distracted. Okay, this is something that you get heard rarely. Okay, so let's say like this: you're studying, okay, and you turn over the book and you started studying. And sometimes the same thing happens. What is that? Daydreaming. Okay, it's okay. Let it happen. Okay, once you know and once you identify that you are daydreaming, and once you found yourself that you are daydreaming, what do you have to do? I want you to take a pen or a pencil and take a blank paper and write down that thought that you became distracted. For an example, while you're studying, sometimes we used to think about foods a lot, okay? So what do you have to do? Write it down. I got distracted about thinking about biryani, okay? Something like that. Or sometimes we become distracted thinking about the past experiences, the things that happened in the past, okay? So what do you have to do? Write it down. Jot it down on a paper. Now, why should we do this? Because most of the time, we are not aware of what we are thinking. When we become distracted and when we daydream, we don't know what is going in our mind. We don't know what we are thinking. We just jump into that stream of thoughts and we just flow down. So what do you have to do? When you write that thought in a piece of paper, right? It's like you're identifying that thought, right? You code that thought and you identified, okay, this is what makes me distracted. This is what makes me unfocused on studies. Okay? Then there's a physical thing that you can see, and you can see that it is physically that you are distracting. Okay? So what do you have to do? Write down your distracting thoughts. Okay? Then you have a good understanding. When you do this for a little while, what can you do is, and what can you find is, there's a pattern of distractions. That means we become distracted for few thoughts, and they are the thoughts that come again and again to our mind. So what do you have to do? Write it down. That is the first tip. Second tip, identify what makes you distracted and then be brave enough to remove all those distractions. There are triggers that makes us distracted. Let's say, for an example, our mobile phone. Okay, let's say you're studying and there's the mobile phone on the desk. Each and every time it rings a notification, what do? We take our mobile phone and we check what it is. Okay, so a mobile phone is not distracting you. It is a trigger for your distraction. Trigger is just a trigger until you give the power to that to make you distracted. So what do you have to do? Physically, by force, sometimes it's very difficult, okay? You have to be brave enough to do that. Remove that distraction. If your mobile phone is distracting you, be brave enough to remove it. Okay, if your laptop or your any technical device that is distracting you, be brave enough to remove it. And sometimes, right, sometimes we have to use this technology. Okay, sometimes you have to use your laptop to study. So what do you have to do? While you're doing it, be much more disciplined and much more aware of what you're thinking and what you're doing inside it. Okay, use it only for what you want. Okay, while studying. I'm not saying that other times you can use it whatever in whatever way you want, but use it only for what you want while studying. So the second tip is to be brave enough to remove the distractions. Okay, if something is distracting you, you have to remove it. Tip number 3, do not study for long hours continuously. I can still remember when I was studying and when I was at home, I can still remember I used to make these schedules and timetables to study for 2 or 3 hours continuously. You know, it is not productive. So what you can do? You can study for short time intervals. Maybe like, let's say 25 minutes. Okay, you can use 25 minutes to study. Okay, and then take a little bit of a break and then again study. And while you're studying, what you have to do, you have to jot down and you have to write down all those distracting thoughts. Okay, keep that in your mind. So do not study for long hours. Just take a break and refresh yourself and then come back again to studies. That is another thing that you can do. And here comes the final tip, the tip number 4. It is the most important thing and the most awesome thing is to practice a little bit of meditation before every study session. Okay, before every study session, let's say you studied for 25 minutes and you took an interval, and then you came back to study. Now while you are taking that break, sometimes you do certain things to make your mind busy even more. So what we have to do? We have to just settle down and make our mind to focus. To do that, you can use a little bit of meditation before every study session. Just sit down on your chair and just close your eyes. And the easiest thing that you can do is to watch this flow of breath, in breath and out breath. When you practice this calming meditations like breathing meditation, that is one of the easiest meditations that you can do. When you focus your mind on this in-breath and out-breath, it helps you to become calm and settle down. Then your mind will get ready to study. Okay? So these are the few things and few easy things that you can do and practice while studying. Okay? So use these things and use these tips to study and make your studies a more productive one. Namo Buddhaya. One of the things that many people misunderstand about Buddhism is, I've heard this a lot, they say that Buddhism is negative. Buddhism is very pessimistic. It speaks about death and dying and sickness and crying. Why Buddha speaks about negative stuff? Can't we have something joyful and happy about this life? Well, from this video, we're going to talk about, is Buddhism really negative? So here's the reason why a person might come to a conclusion that the Buddha's teachings are quite pessimistic and it is negative. It is because of the first noble truth. Now, what is the first noble truth? It is dukkha in Pali language, which is literally translated as suffering or stress. Now, these words have deeper meanings. When Buddha speaks about dukkha, Buddha means about deep things about life. But when you look at this word, suffering or stress or dukkha, one might come to a conclusion that, oh, Buddha speaks about suffering, right? Buddha says that life is suffering. But when you look at the life, there are things that we can be happy about life. And also there are moments that we have a lot of joyfulness in our life. So why Buddha speaks about negative stuff? And also the Buddha explains in his first sermon about the first noble truth, the dukkha, as like this. Now, when someone look at this explanation, they might come to a conclusion, oh, life is stressful. So that is the reason for so many people to say that Buddha speaks about negative stuff. But if you really understand about what Buddha meant by this, you will find that Buddhism is not negative or pessimistic. It is more realistic. Okay? So why Buddha speaks about this? It is because this is the common truth that we all share in all living beings. No matter what level of life that we have, we all share these things, these truths in our life. That is a common truth. So Buddha saw this, and that is why Buddha speaks about this. So yes, it seems to be pretty miserable, right? But wait until you hear the second noble truth. What is the second noble truth? It is called the samudaya, the origin of suffering. Now Buddha says there's a reason why we suffer. What is the origin of this suffering? Now Buddha explains that the reason why we suffer is because of tanha. Tanha means craving, literally translated as craving. But there is more to this word, okay? So why we suffer is because we have this craving and attachment towards things, okay? Towards things, people, and to ourselves as well. So, and it gets better when you hear the third noble truth. The Buddha says that you can end the suffering. The third noble truth is called nirodha, the cessation. Now the Buddha says that you can end the suffering by letting go of the cause of the suffering. Right? I'll repeat it again. You can end the suffering when you let go of the cause of the suffering. Right? So it is pretty obvious, right? Pretty realistic. Let's understand about it like this. Suppose you have an unwanted plant in your garden. Now what you want to do? You want to remove this. So how are you going to remove this? Let's say a person goes and cut it from the stem. Cut down that plant from the stem. Did you permanently remove it? No. It grows back. No matter how many times you cut this plant from the stem, it will grow back. But if you really need to remove the plant, what you have to do is you have to go into roots, dig the plant, and then remove the roots, and then it will never grow back, right? Same like that, if you remove the root of suffering, if you remove the cause of suffering, then you will end the suffering. Not only the Buddha says that you can end the suffering, but also Buddha introduce you to a path where you can end the suffering. And that is the fourth noble truth. It is called the Magga, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, Noble Eightfold Path is a moral and ethical and psychological and more practical path that leads to the cessation or end of the suffering. So basically, the Buddha is like a doctor, okay? So what a doctor might do? He might come to a patient and says, hey, listen, let's be honest that you have this disease. You have to be honest. I know it is painful. I know it is very negative and pessimistic to talk about this, but let's be honest. If you need to cure this disease, you need to focus on it. Okay, we have to talk about it. We have to find a way out of it. So, the doctor says that there is a disease. He will be honest with you, and he says, and he comes with the good news, and that is that you can cure this disease. Okay, we can cure this disease, and I will show you how to cure this disease. And also the doctor will say that take these pills and take these medicines to end your disease or to cure your disease. And same like that, Buddha identifies your disease and he talks about that disease, and also Buddha identified what causes this disease, and also the Buddha comes up with the positive, more happy news that you can end this suffering, okay? And also Buddha comes up with a way to end this suffering. So if you look at it in that way, Buddhism is not pessimistic. It is not negative. It is more realistic because Buddha talks about the truth in this life. What is the truth? It is the first noble truth. that is the suffering. Suffering is the only thing that we all share commonly in this world. No matter what level in this life that we are in, we all suffer. Okay, wealthy people, no matter how much rich you are, no matter how much poor we are, we all suffer and we all share these sufferings. What is that? Suffering of sickness, suffering of death, suffering of diseases, suffering of aging, suffering of despair, lamentation, cry. This is something that is very common to all of us. And talking about it and thinking about it might not be a negative thing, because most of the time what we are doing is we are running away from this truth. We don't like to talk about it. We always like to forget about it. And also we have found many creative things to forget the suffering, not to end the suffering. Okay, we think that we end the suffering, but it grows back. It comes back. Same like you're removing a plant from a stem. So what Buddha does is, what Buddha shows you is the path to go into the root of this problem and remove the root, remove the origin, remove the cause to end the suffering. So remember that Buddhism is not negative and it is not pessimistic. It is more realistic and it is more practical. So I hope you got some idea about what Buddha teaches you. So that is all for this video, and see you in the next video. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. Now in today's video, we're going to talk about how to handle a heartbreak and how to heal your heart. One of our viewers have asked from us that how can I handle my sorrow of losing a loved one? And how can I handle the heartbreak, the sorrow of heartbreak? Well, first of all, I must say, a heartbreak or losing a loved one is one of the most hardest experiences that a human can undergo. Right? Because we have that mental bond and mental attachment within people. When that mental attachment is broken, we start to suffer. We start to cry and we start to wail. So there are some ways that you can get over this sorrow. So this whole video is dedicated for all the people out there who are going through heartbreaks and who are experiencing tough times in their life. So I think this video will help you to have some light on your way. So there are some ways and things that we can do to heal ourselves. But remember, this healing process takes time. It's like a wound, right? Wound is not healed in a day or 2 days or 3 days. It takes time, right? So we have to be in a constant process of healing that wound. So same goes with a heartbreak. So what we can do to heal our heart from a heartbreak. Number one, if you need to cry, it's okay to cry. Remember that. Right? There are some people who are going through heartbreaks and they don't like to cry. They pretend to be they're okay. Right? They pretend to the world that they are okay and they have got over the problem. They smile, but not inside. Remember, if you need to cry, it's okay to cry. Right? Go to a private place or go to your room and cry. It's okay, because crying is one of the most natural way of removing the pressure that is building up inside your mind and inside your heart. So it's okay to cry, especially for men, because men always try to hide their tears and they pretend to be they're okay. But remember, men are also allowed to cry. Okay? So if you need to cry and if you need to remove and release that pressure that is building inside, then it's not a problem of shedding a tear. Number two, you can find a person who you can share your pain and who you can share the sorrow and the pressure that is building inside you, right? Well, you need to be wise when you choose this person. Why? Because there are some people out there who give hate comments and hateful comments to the person who cheated you, right? When they give those hate comments and when they try to build up the hate within you, right? It is not good for you. It's not good for your mental health and it's not good for your physical health either. So what you have to do, choose the person wisely and share your pain with him. Find a person who can share that sorrow, right? That person can be your mother, your father, maybe you're one of your friends, maybe one of your teachers or mentors, whoever it is. Find a person who keep listening to you without saying anything, without giving many advice to you. Find a person who keeps listening to you, right? Find a person who you can share your pain that is building inside. That is the second step. And number 3, this is the most important thing that you need to practice. And this is one of the things that many people who are in relationships doesn't like to think about. And what is that? Our great teacher, Supreme Buddha, said, Sabbehi me piyehi manapehi nana bhavo vina bhavoti abhinnang paccavekitapam. What does that mean? Supreme Buddha said, always reflect and recollect in your mind that one day I have to be parted and separated from all the dear and agreeable people in my life. Isn't that the truth? Yes, it is. That is the truth. But we don't like to think about that when people are in relationships. They will think it will ruin their relationship. It will ruin the bond between people. But in reality, it is not. Remember, when you think that I have to be separated, one day I have to be separated from this person that is sitting in front of me, the person who I love most. One day I have to be separated from this person, at least at the death. So I have a little time to love this person, give my love, my kindness, my attention, my compassion to this person. So I must give this fullest love to this person. Remember, true love will never break your heart. That's amazing, isn't it? True love, when you love someone truly, if that person leaves you, you will never be heartbroken. But if you become attached to that person, if you are mentally too much attached to that person, and that attachment is the thing that breaks your heart. That is why Buddha said attachment brings the suffering to your life. So remember, true love will never break your heart, but the attachment does. Right? So if you are curious about what is true love and what is attachment, there's another video that has done by us about explaining the true love, so you can check out that. So remember, when you truly love someone, your heart will never be broken. Right? So what you have to think is, always, whenever you are possible, you need to think, I have to be separated from these people around me. Right? So when you think that, your mind is getting prepared to face that situation. Right? You can imagine how I'm going to recover myself if this person left me. How I'm going to do that. Right? Then if your mind is pre-prepared for that situation, when you're going through such a situation in reality, you will start to think, this is what I was thinking about. Right? So, when your mind is get prepared to face that reality in the life, right? You can be more confident. You can be more strong when you face that situation in real life. So that is the thing that you have to always think about that. And also, remember, I told you, heartbreak is like a wound. Remember, if you need to heal this wound, you need to decrease the amount of touching it. Right? Now, I don't say that you need to forget the person. Right? You cannot forget the person. But you can reduce the amount of attention for those past thoughts. Because when you're alone, right, after a heartbreak, after a breakup, when you're alone, right, you're thinking about the moments and the things that happened in the past. The more you think about those things, the more you will be frustrated and the more you will be sad. So what you have to do, reduce the amount of attention that you are giving to that kind of thoughts, right? So you can do that, but you cannot forget that from time to time, those thoughts will haunt your mind. But when you're not giving much more attention, when you're not giving much attention to those kind of thoughts constantly, and with the time, it will fade away, right? So you don't try to stop the thoughts, but let the thoughts to fade away from your life. And keep this in your mind. Whatever the terrible situation that you are going through in your life, it is going to be changed one day. Because none of our life experiences are permanent, right? Every experience, every tough situation, every happy time, and every experience that we face in our own life are impermanent. They will change with the time. So remember, you're going to heal one day. You're going to be okay one day, right? So have some experience with these tough situations in our life. Remember, these experiences make our life more and more strong. So these are 5 things that you can do to heal your broken heart, right? So I hope you got some ideas to how to heal your broken heart. And most importantly, don't forget to remember what our great teacher Supreme Buddha taught. One day, we all have to be separated from every loving person around us. So we have a short time in this life. So we have to give our fullest love to these people around us and expect nothing from this world, because our expectations will make us suffering. So remember that. And I'm going to end this video with a nice quote. And that is, when you are heartbroken, cry, forgive, learn from your experiences, and let your tears water the seeds of your future happiness.